Surviving is the same thing as winning. By Please Dow 123. Chapter 13. Teamwork. Kakashi glanced up as Asuma and Kurenai entered the clearing, slipping out of a bush. Kakashi lifted a hand in a lazy greeting from where he was sitting cross-legged and slouched against a boulder, icha in hand, for once.
Morning,
Asuma greeted. Afternoon, Kurenai corrected, raising a brow at the midday sun.
Close enough.
Asuma yawned, scratching the back of his head. Your kids coming? Kakashi raised a brow at them. Told them to meet us here. Kurenai smiled. We thought we could show up a bit early and make plans. Sure. How do you want to play this? Kakashi asked as he looked around the field. It was one of the more distant training grounds just on the outskirts of Konoha and was popular for the reason it was a varied field. Many of the training yards around Konoha were simple and of the same terrain, either all bush or cleared grass or river. This one had a nice cropping of large boulders beside a small cliff face and a waterfall that fell into a deep creek, but also some thorn bushes and scrub before a tree line. It was also a tad larger than many of the closer training grounds.
Ino has been complaining non-stop about how she lost her match while Sakura won hers,
Asuma sighed.
and complaining how she didn't get to face Sakura, so I was hoping for some sparring. Plus, I think my kids got spooked by the exam and could use some interactions with some of the teams to ease them.
Kiba is the same, Kurenai laughed. And the exam didn't quite scare them so much as it made them realize they needed to step up their training. Well, we could do some sparring, Kakashi said, but I was hoping to do some team exercises. Team exercises? Kurenai asked. My team versus yours? Kakashi smiled.
Then mine after?
Asuma nodded. No, both of yours at the same time. Kakashi smiled wider. The pair were silent for a moment. Do you think they could take both our teams? Kurenai asked with narrowed eyes. You could see the annoyance, see how she was not happy he was dismissing her kids, but, well, Kakashi knew how this was going to go. Yeah, Kakashi said. In fact, I'd like to start with that.
I'm up for it,
Asuma said, eyes glinting. Asuma had known Kakashi far longer and could see the glee in his face and wanted to see what he thought was going to happen. Where are your students, by the way? Kurenai asked abruptly. As if summoned, there was a shout, and all three jonin looked up in time to see Naruto do a wild flail and then belly flop straight into the deep water right near the waterfall. Sakura and Sasuke peeked over the waterfall after the blonde who hit the water with a sharp smack. Sakura was roaring with laughter, and Kakashi could even see Sasuke's faint smirk. And then they were throwing themselves after him, laughing as they tumbled much more gracefully into the water. Kakashi smiled as they breached the surface, still gasping with laughter while Naruto whined. They pulled themselves from the water, squabbling, after a couple splashes, and beeline for Kakashi, who held up a towel from the bag beside him. Sakura snatched the towel first and shimmied the water off herself, while Naruto shook like a dog, and Sasuke shoved his wet hair back. They were still arguing about who had pushed Naruto, as they finished drying off and tugged some clothes on over their bathing suits. Kakashi let Sakura dig some granola bars out of the bag as his kids quieted down and glanced at the two new adults. Yo, this is Asuma and Kurenai, Kakashi introduced the jonin. Hello, Sakura greeted for them. It's nice to meet you. Hello, Kurenai was smiling. Having a swim? We were practicing water walking with the current while we sparred. Naruto needs all the practice he could get for it. Sakura smiled. But then Sasuke punched Naruto and it started a water fight.
You pushed it first,
Sasuke grunted. Did not! Sakura shot back immediately. They were interrupted by the sound of approaching people, and they all turned to watch Team 8 and Team 10 spill into the clearing. Sensei! The Inuzuka boy shouted happily. We found Team Tamara right here! You mean ran into? Yamanaka Ino snapped. Sensei, where is Dagba here?
That's because we told both of you to meet here,
Asuma smirked. You! Yamanaka yelled, suddenly spotting Sakura. Kakashi chuckled quietly as his student responded with a taunting smirk and a cheery little wave.
This is going to be so troublesome,
the Nara scowled, eyes darting between the teams as he came up with his own conclusion. What are we doing, Sensei? Hinata Hyuga asked nervously. We're going to do some friendly team training, Kakashi answered for Kurenai with a tearful chirp. The other kids all leaned away from Kakashi's grin, looking a little freaked out, but Team 7 just rolled their eyes, used to his off-putting nature when he was having fun torturing them. They knew that this time he wasn't going to be torturing them, but the other kids. Kakashi eyed his own students and their confidence and turned a warmer grin on them. They had come so far. So, here's the rules. Kakashi smiled. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke will each carry a bell. Whichever team retrieves the most wins. Naruto and Sakura grinned wide and sharp, while Sasuke smirked between them, each holding up a small silver bell before tying it to their waist. None of them looked very intimidating, all decked out in civvies, shorts and t-shirts. Naruto's even had a silly doodle on it, and Sakura had a large sunflower printed on hers. The only thing remotely ninja about them was the sandals strapped tight and the one kunai pouch each. You can use anything you want. Weapons, taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu, whatever. You have 1 hour and have to stay in this training ground limits. It's a team effort, remember. Got it? Kakashi asked lightly. All the kids seemed slightly caught off guard by this sudden game announced, shifting and exchanging quick looks with their smiling sensei. But they rallied quick enough. The Ino-Cho Shika team exchanged sharp nods, signs passing between them silently. Team 8 barely looked at one another as they, each in their own way, tagged Team 7. Well then, good luck, Kakashi smiled. Us sensei will be keeping an eye on things, so just ignore us if you see us. Now, ready, set... They all tensed. Go! Kakashi said, flicking the timer. Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto moved instantly and as one, their movements quick but graceful as Naruto went high, Sasuke went low, and Sakura went dead forwards. Naruto let out a cackling howl, and Sakura gave a war cry even as Sasuke vanished from everyone's senses. It was a tactic to unnerve, and unnerve it did, jolting half the kids out of formation as they started. Naruto fell on Team 10 with all the force of a hurricane, clones blossoming around him like weeds as he forced them to scatter, cutting off the team praised for teamwork. Sakura, meanwhile, slammed into Team 8, scattering them as they all tried to dodge her wild throws. Sasuke, it seemed, had vanished, but the kids didn't have time to worry about that as they tried to fend off the other two. But as quickly as it had happened, everything slowed, because Sakura and Naruto popped like bubbles, revealing that they had been switched with clones. The field settled with silence for a long moment as the other two teams blinked in shock. Well, Kakashi raised a brow. They're somewhere in this training ground and you have bells to get. They flinched into motion, ducking into the surrounding bush. Kakashi turned to smile on Kurenai and Asuma, and they both shook their heads fondly before ducking after their teams to observe. Kakashi pulled his each ad again. No point in wasting his very limited reading time. Kakashi watched as Sakura shrieked with glee, her hammer a-glint in the sun as she slammed it where Team 10 had stood. They let out shrieks as well, but they were not of glee, as Sakura became a whirlwind armed with a heavy hammer. She was a force of nature as she whirled and twirled and spun, the clang of her hammer against the earth particularly loud with her enthusiasm. Hold still! Sakura laughed like a maniac. Fuck that! The blonde girl shrieked back, even as the Akimichi enlarged his hand and tried to swat Sakura out of the air. The boy's hand grazed her hammer, and Sakura let it go before it was ripped out of her hands, using her momentum to throw herself over the large hand. The Nara was crouched, hands clasped into side as the shadow stretched for where Sakura would land. But when Sakura actually hit the ground, she shattered into a spray of cherry blossoms. What? The kids gaped as the petals floated to the ground, leaving no one in sight. Kakashi raised a brow from his hidden vantage point in the tree. That had been a well-combined genjutsu along with an earth-style jutsu that had helped Sakura slip into the earth like it was water. Kakashi watched idly as the kids whispered furiously, trying to regroup. Only a bit of a ways off, Sakura crawled out of the earth behind a tree and slapped her hand to Naruto, tagging him in. Kakashi left them to it and sought out Sasuke as a sphere of fire bloomed in the air closer to the creek. Your kids are hellions, Asuma hissed. Kakashi chuckled lowly beside him, both keeping track of the kids running about below them. He saw Kurenai and Asuma shifting, saw the calculations run on their faces, how they watched his kids with shadowed eyes. The chunin exams had been one thing, but his kids had been beat to hell and back on their last bit of energy. Here, healthy and energetic, they were taking the other two teams apart bit by bit and enjoying it. Sure, it was a sort of childish fun, a small thrilled smile here, laughter there, but the fact was they were dominating, and they knew it, and they were taking joy in it. Sasuke smirked openly as he set an exploding tag off, watching the panic bloom across the Abarame's face before smoke erupted with a loud bang. The Hyuga was squeaking, yelling out Sasuke's location even through the lavender-scented smoke while Inuzuka cursed up a storm. Sakura was hovering near the teachers, hanging from a branch as he tracked the people in the smoke. She was keeping an eye on Sasuke, but not actively helping him. Naruto, meanwhile, was just around the corner, setting up a web of wires to catch anyone who led that way. Not a single one of the other kids had touched a bell. Asuma and Kurenai exchanged a look, and Kakashi flipped a page in his ichi-ichi. Below them, Sasuke tagged Sakura in, and she went spinning away, chasing the teams into Naruto's webs. "Wow, wasn't that fun?" Kakashi chirped. All the kids groaned at him. Even his own team was panting and sweaty. Kakashi sent his kids a narrow-eyed look. They stared back at him for a long moment, confusion evident. He saw them think about why he could possibly be disappointed when they had won. It was surprisingly Naruto who realized first, eyes flying wide and knocking his elbows into the other two and whispering quickly, hands flapping. Sakura and Sasuke blinked, then looked to Kakashi with wide eyes. They all looked at their feet sheepishly. He had not been impressed with their teamwork today. Oh, they had worked as a team for sure, but not actively. They had simply worked independently while being together. They'd all gotten a tad too caught up in rivalries and having fun. Kakashi had said it was a team exercise, and he hadn't just meant for the other two teams. "You're monsters!" the Inuzuka boy groaned. Naruto gave a minute instinctive flinch at the word, and Sakura and Sasuke sent sharp glares at the boy. "You just suck, Nagbai," Yamanaka groaned. "You all suck." Sasuke spoke aloud to the surprise of most. A couple of the kids blinked at the full sentence that had just come out of Sasuke, but then they realized the insult and made protests. "Yeah!" Naruto laughed. "You didn't get any bells!" The Nara heir was watching Team 7 with sharp eyes, hair in a disarray and sweat coating his brow, but looking completely focused. "Guess we need to step up on training, eh?" Asuma laughed at his kids. The Yamanaka started to squabble with him as the Abarame told Kurenai they needed more training as well. Kakashi watched as the Nara sidled up beside him discreetly. "What training have you given them?" the Nara asked. "Oh, some of this, some of that," Kakashi hummed. The Nara narrowed his eyes again, and Kakashi met his gaze with a slight tilt of his head. He could practically see the kid thinking a mile a minute. "You were Anbu," the kid finally stated. Kakashi raised a brow. That wasn't really a secret these days, but definitely wasn't well known either. He wondered if the boy had overheard his father talking about it, or if he had figured it out on his own. "Sure," Kakashi smiled, neither confirming nor denying. "Are you training them for Anbu?" The kid narrowed his eyes. "Nope." Kakashi smiled a tad more sharply. If Kakashi had his way, no one under the age of 20 would ever be an Anbu. Anbu wasn't about strength, wasn't a mark of power. It was where the killers went. Not those who could kill in the land of duty, but those who were particularly good at it. Kakashi was making his students powerhouses, but he was not making them merciless killers. And if Anbu tried to approach them while he was still their teacher, they would remember why Kakashi had been an Anbu commander, the king of the killers. "You've had no other students than Anbu, though," the boy remarked with narrowed eyes. "So you only know how to train Anbu." People came to Anbu because they were good killers, not because they were always good at other things. Kakashi had been responsible for making sure they got good enough to survive Anbu. You didn't always enter Anbu powerful or extremely skilled, but you left it so. Kakashi met the Nara's eyes squarely, but gave no response. Nara huffed. "We had no chance." "No," he agreed blandly. "They've been under your tutelage for 7 months, and most of that was out of Konoha," the boy mulled. "You've been training them hard." "Very." They eyed one another, Kakashi appreciative of the kid's genius, and Nara eyeing him like he was a feral dog. Well, that's how all the Nara eyed people too enthusiastic about work. The boy finally rolled his shoulders into a slouch. Troublesome. We should play shogi one day. One genius against another, Kakashi agreed. The boy gave him a tight, grim smile and wandered back to his sensei.